We start out with the Vanguard newspaper. They lead with that story about insecurity. Kidnappers shoot at moving vehicle, man abducted, wife injured, as the lead story on the Vanguard, front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Kidnapped 3 victims, and the story continues on page 5, but it's not a sweet story. There are a couple of other stories there. You also have ECOWAS. We're ready to engage Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. That's coming from the federal government of Nigeria. That's it from the Vanguard newspaper.
Look at the front page of The Guardian today, and what you have, it's business related and also health related. Single-use plastics ban in Lagos. Businesses shop for alternatives. Advocate incentivized recycling. What does that mean? Well, some graphics on the front page for you, but the details you'll find on the inside pages. That's the lead story of The Guardian today.
And New Telegraph is tying into that story on the Vanguard, front page of the Vanguard, with this one. Says, declare state of emergency on insecurity to restore law order. As the Southern Kaduna Christian leader to Tinubu, declare state of emergency on insecurity to restore law order. That story, there are a couple of writers there, but the details of the story you find on page 3, 4, 5, and 26. That's New Telegraph.
And take a look at the front page of the Daily Independent. That concern that everyone has about the Naira has caught the attention of the CBN. It will seem to halt Naira slide. CBN injects $500 million into FX market as Naira trades 1,500 Naira to the dollar at parallel market. Gosh, what exactly is happening? Well, the details are on the front page. It continues on the inside pages.
And the Daily Trust newspaper has that ECOWAS story. ECOWAS crisis, Nigeria at receiving end. That's how it's captioned here. Citizens will require visas to travel across exiting countries. Terrorists might up their game. Security expert, we would be poorer dons. Well, if you go to page 4, you find more details of that story. ECOWAS crisis, Nigeria at the receiving end. That's it from Daily Trust.
Well, the lead story of this Nigerian newspaper is also no less concerning. 45 terrorists wiped out in Kaduna military airstrike. Army hands over 35 rescued kidnapped victims to Governor Adda, and all of that you'll find details of on pages 4 and 15. That's the lead story of this Nigerian newspaper today.
And looking at the Nigerian Observer, or the blueprint rather, dominant operatives kill 30 bandits, rescue 40 abductees. Okay, I was calling the blueprint. Yeah. 30 bandits killed, rescue 40 abductees. That's what they're leading with on the front page of Blueprint newspaper.
And if you look at the front page of the Leadership newspaper, you get something equally concerning, only this time it's business strictly. 10-year limit, bank insurance chiefs dodge regulatory acts. That's the story you'll find on page 4. Create holding companies to retain power and influence. They're building supermen, not institutions, that's according to experts. 8, to expand operations and revenue streams. Who said that? Details of you will find on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper today.
And this Nigeria front page story, 45 terrorists wiped out in Kaduna military airstrike. Army hands over 35 rescued kidnapped victims to Governor Rada. That's Governor of Katsina State. That story continues on page 4 and page 15. That's Nigeria.
The Nigerian Observer equally has the story. CBN commits $500 million to FX liabilities as foreign airlines threaten to quit Nigeria. What does all that mean? The details you'll find on the front page. It continues on the inside pages of the Nigerian Observer this morning.
One of the things that stands out for me, and it's a story that's been captured in multiple papers here. This Nigeria has that story. Blueprint has the same story, captioned differently. Even New Telegraph has a story about security. Indeed, something needs to be done. As you said, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. You keep doing the same thing and expect that the results will be different. No, there's no way it will be different. We need to do something something drastic about the security situation, not just in the FCT, across the country. Because even in those areas where you think it's quiet, I mean, there's this saying that if you think it's not near you, wait until it gets you. At that point, there will be nobody around to help you. We need something to be done real drastically, especially in the coffers of government, and that's what stands out for me.
Well, you know, one of the things, and you know, we can't overstress that particular issue that you just highlighted there, because it's also the same story you find on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. We can't stress that enough. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, you were talking, you and Jemile were underscoring the need and the importance of celebrating our personnel that are doing a yeoman's job. Amazing. And it is something that is definitely worth celebrating. What we are talking about here now is equally worth celebrating. The good things, the highs that we are scoring, and the need to celebrate those highs and ensure that the needful is done to make sure that where we are coming from, we no longer find ourselves going there. So the military is also doing, you know, what they need to do in this area, which is causing the Katsina and Abuja residents to celebrate, and they are hailing that development. FCT police also bust a kidnap syndicate, and they set the victims free. All of that is definitely worth celebrating. This is the kind of trajectory I think we all want to continue to progress towards. Successes. Yes, occasionally we'll have down times, but the rising insecurity is no less concerning. And Nyota, one of the things that continues to come to my mind about this particular matter is every time we talk about insecurity in the country, we're talking about the federal government. Well, how about the states? All of these insecurity happen locally. They happen in small silos. And we have said this over and over again, that the local government level is the first line of defense in any environment. So if we lose that first line of defense, we already opened ourselves up, such that before the state government can do anything about it, it's already spiraled out of control. I still continue to talk about that situation in Plateau State, for instance, where the governor told us that 64 communities are inhabited or occupied, so to speak, by non-state actors. The previous government told us that they have decimated Boko Haram, that they don't have any state that is not occupied by any non-state actor. But how come we have 64 communities, according to the governor of the state, and no less a person? So these issues will not just go away if we don't do anything about it. Can we nip them in the bud right there at the local level before they spiral out of control? I want my perspective on that same story, Nyota.
You know, that matter about security and always talking about the federal government, it is what it is. The security architecture in this country is managed from the federal level. And until we begin to look at how to break it down, that matter about the local government being the front line of security might still be coming up over and over again. People will still be wondering how come the local government is not securing its space. But I do know that even the local communities, there's a way they secure themselves. We need to go back to the villages, to the communities, and see what was done to protect the different communities. And it was all about, I know my neighbor and my neighbor knows me. Yes. We're able to work together, or we're able to understand each other and ask questions and ensure that the truth or right things are done at every point in time.
Well, one other paper that
let's look at the
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to...
Okay, I was talking about the gut.
Yeah.
the Guardian newspaper, and that matter about recycling. Lagos State banning single-use plastics. Earlier you mentioned among the things happening today, stakeholders conference to talk about child cancer, how to eliminate child cancer. Lagos State banned the use of single-use plastics and styrofoam. And one of the carcinogenic items that we use every day, even in the local communities in Lagos, is that styrofoam used to buy food, used in the microwave and all of that. And somehow it gets mixed up into the food and people eat it, children, adults eat it, and it contributes to the cases of cancer. But now Lagos has banned that. But beyond just the bans, is about educating the people about plastics and how they are used. How do we use plastics? When do we use plastics? What happens when we heat plastics for different reasons? Whether you're using it in the microwave or whether you're just using it for storage, what happens? What kind of reactions happen? What can we do that is what are the most healthy uses of plastics that we can have across the country? It's about education, it's about informing the people so that the people can make the right choices. Because it's not enough to just say it's been banned. Having banned it, what next? What next? There are different countries that have banned the use of plastics. Kenya is one of those countries that was among the first countries on the African continent to ban single-use plastic. If you go to a country like Rwanda and they are caught with a plastic bag, you could go to jail, but understanding that you pay a very huge fine. So it's something that we need to take up again, not just about banning, but also educating the people about single-use plastics.
And talking about education, yes, Nilta, talking about education, we just have to keep the conversation going. One of the challenges that I think the federal and state, any government at that, has had over the years globally is that of communicating with the people, engaging the people. I think one government that did that fairly well in the past was the Babangida government at the time. There was always one public service announcement or the other on national television. Radio stations also had public service announcements. But in these days of commercial broadcasting, it seems like many are not even looking in that direction. And people should just take a cue and talk about these things, talk about the dangers of the things that we consume, because it is not just going to go away. Still talking about communication, Nilta, the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper has brought us to the point of talking about something affecting our lives on a daily. So on the one hand, Lagos State government has banned these stuff. What are the alternatives? Will they also be imported? If the alternatives are going to be imported, here is the concern on the front page of the Daily Independent. Naira slide. Look at the write-up. Naira is trading at 1,500 Naira to the dollar at the parallel market. And anyway, maybe I believe that this morning, later on, the business news is going to be focusing a lot more on that and what are the options, what we need to do and all. What we continue to hear from the authorities in that space is that things are going to get better, you know, it will get bad, but then it will get better over time, yes. But someone needs to continue to assure Nigerians, like you are toasting or romancing, you know, someone. You just have to keep the conversation open. Let people know that things are not going to remain this way forever, because the way it is, things aren't getting any easier for many people. Things are getting costlier by the day. 1,500 Naira. I mean, I saw a calculation. I don't know if you saw it as well, Nilta. Someone who said he was earning hundreds of thousands of Naira sometime in the 80s or so, and at that time his Naira was worth X. But now look at now earning something more in Naira, and the value of his Naira was worth way less than what he was earning, where he was earning less in Naira at the time. So these are the comparisons that people will continue to make, because it's a global village, it's a global economy, and guess what? Most of the things that we use in the country are imported. If we produced from within Nigeria and consume largely the things that we use in the country, maybe it'll get better. I know that there is the data out there that we are not importing for consumption as much as it looks like. But then the facts are right there, the reality that people have to deal with. What are the things that people need to use? Do we have them in country? Medicals, for instance, pharmaceutical products, for instance, those things that help, generally, so many things like that. These are the things that add to the prices. So with the CBN injecting $500 million into the FX market, the business news at 10 o'clock will give us more understanding about that. But it's something worth attention, Neta.
And with that, we'll come to the end of looking at what some of the papers are saying. Sunrise Daily will take a moment, and we'll be back to delve into a conversation that should be interesting, talking about the CBN, the NNPCL, and their published accounts. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.